going to make a video on the review of this map that I'm going to share with you. So make sure this looks good. Stream settings. So I'm going to go ahead and switch over to the map, and we'll talk more about it over there. Let's do that right now. Let's see. Doop. The Waterside. There you go. The Waterside. So Nulb is done, you know, and it's on the website, the World Anvil website for you to use. It's fan content. You can use it in your campaign. And I designed it in a way where if you have an internet connection, that's key, at the table, you can reference all these NPCs, articles, stat blocks, maps, everything, the website. And that way you can role play from these articles. I know a lot of dungeon masters out there like to print stuff up. And I'm going to lower that some more. And it's really difficult to print up from World Anvil because of the formatting. And if you try to export from World Anvil, it loses all the formatting. It looks horrible. And it wastes paper when you try to print it up. You know, it turns this document into like a 30-page printable document. It sucks. But this is the Waterside, and all the locations in Nulb and NPCs, everything's done. And I'm in the middle of rewriting the Dungeon Masters Guild module version of this, which is more concise and to the point and formatted tightly, with heavily focused on the cult activities in Nulb. Hey, Hearn the Hunter. The finest hostel in Nulb, this sure is. It's going to be, because that's where they're going to have to stay. And sure enough, it's a den of thieves and travelers. This article's been done for a while. And it's got everything you need to know, everything you need to run this location, like all my articles and all the locations here, including flavor text, the introductions, the staff, notable characters, artwork. That's what Dala looks like, the serving wench. There's Pearl. I know how you guys like charts, so I try to include charts into these articles too. And I do the same thing with the DM's Guild. By the way, oh yeah, about the DM's Guild module, the reason I make it's a PDF, so you can print it up. And it's like you can print up a module and hold it in your hand and use it at the table. And a lot of dungeon masters really want that. That's the main reason why I even make those. I make very little money from those modules on DM's Guild, but I do it as a benefit to dungeon masters that require that format. And it also helps promote this Discord channel and the Patreon. That's mainly what this YouTube channel is for too. I don't make much money on this YouTube channel, but it drives people, it lets people find me. They find the Discord and the Patreon. And the Patreon's there to support the project and to get the artwork to you. And all the regular resolution artwork is free on the Patreon, on the Discord, on Facebook. But the higher resolution stuff, you have to be a member of Patreon to get it. Different versions of the map. And so I'm going through, this is one of the biggest articles. This takes like 6 to 8 pages in the DM's Guild module version of this. So as an article on the World Anvil, it's one big article, one big page. The room pricing, who's staying there. I have videos about this already. These are the characters on location. They're all linkable. You put your cursor over the link and it pops up. You click on it again, it pulls up the full article, or as a separate tab if you want. But we keep going past everything you need to know about this location. There's a lot going on. There's a lot of people staying here. It's pivotal. This is a pivotal location for your campaign. I mean, this is the first place the players are going to go to, and the stables next door for their horses. That's important. I even created a random encounter table too for the nighttime. They see who shows up. I got to go through that again and make sure it's all good. The menu, let's click on that real quick. So I created this a couple weeks ago and I put it up on Patreon. Everybody can have it. This isn't as printable as some of my other menus, but I was thinking about this. You know how I thought, hey, Hearn, let's see what he's saying here. I keep seeing this and thinking of the woman running the hostel in Eurotrip. Yep. I love that movie. It's hilarious. You're right. It is like Eurotrip. Well, I was thinking about menus. You go to a tavern in the medieval days, like the 16th century, and you sit down and the serving wench walks up with menus and hands out the menus and you order from it. But, the reason it's a mechanic for a Dungeons and Dragons, a game for the players to hold in their hands and look it over while the Dungeon Master is role playing. And the Dungeon Master can role play these. have the servant girl talk about this. And in the article, I do describe these in more detail for the Dungeon Master to draw from, to describe what river ale is, things like that. So anyway, I was thinking, what other way can I portray another menu? Because I have like a dozen menus already on this website that are printable. I was thinking, that'd be kind of cool to put the menu on the wall. That's white charcoal marker and just kind of drawn on the wall of what you can order. And there's a lot of other faded over time, splotches, and there's a handprint there. So don't trust Nulb. I put little messages there, things like that. So I thought that was kind of cool. I decided to do something a little different this time. I do have a separate section. Let's go back in this article describing that stuff so you can print it up. All right, so let's go ahead and click on the first one. This is the daytime. So in the daytime, what's interesting about the Waterside is it's right next to the river. So you see that road to the left? That's the high road. And the bridge right there to the north. Oh, I forgot to put a compass on here. So that's not north. North is up to the right. It's northwest is north. It's because the road is supposed to be slanting. Oh, well. I'll add it before I make the high resolution versions. So the bridge is northwest. And so to the west is the high road. The low road's off this map, but both the high road and the low road connect before you get to the bridge. And then you cross the bridge into Nulb. And see the bridge, how close it is to the waterside, and look how close the river is to the waterside. So there's a couple cottages on the other side of the bridge with some bandits holed up. There's also a couple bandits at the end on this bridge that's always watching the bridge to see who's coming into Nulb. That's a constant thing. So they can alert everybody. So everybody in town will know when adventurers come into town within minutes. And that's the idea. And, that's why I wrote that article about what will happen if a paladin walks in and starts arresting everybody. So anyway, you can swim across this river to avoid all that. That's kind of interesting to think about. By the time the players do get here, if they're at fifth level, they do have a lot of powers at their command. They have a lot of potions, they got spells, they could change shape, things like that. So they could really take advantage of this map. They could leverage it. And so as they come into Nulb, they'll see Nulb from this road before even crossing the river. And they'll see that the Waterside is pretty popular and it's an obvious tavern. So they're going to have to stay there. They know that. And when they talk to the bandits at the other side of the bridge, the bandits will tell them about the Waterside and the barn next to it, the stables next to it. So this is the lower level, Waterside. And over here is a disjointed second level. I wanted it to all be on one. That way, if you use this as a VTT in your VTT program, you don't have to flop around between different maps when they go upstairs and downstairs. So this corral right here is for merchants. Merchant caravan wagons. Like if a merchant rolls into town with 3 to 5 wagons, he's going to roll into this corral area. And then this is a side door right here. And these lanterns outside light up at night so they can see if they come in after the sun goes down. This is the front entrance. That's not really going to help at all. There's the nighttime one. Let's go ahead and I'm going to pull that up. I'm going to open it up. Let's see. Doop and doop. So this version, by the way, is 90 pixels and it's 5 megabyte file. So when I zoom in, you're going to see it gets a little blurry. But I'm going to have like 30 megabyte files at 300 pixels too available. I haven't made those yet because I wanted everybody on my Discord channel to let me know if there are any changes that should be made before I finalize it. So Hearn the Hunter says, no trip to Nulb is complete without going to Wharf Mart. The wharf. There, now we can zoom in. Does that look good over there? Yep, it does. Puddles, and I try to make the road, it's a dirt village. Dirt, there's no cobblestones. So it's dirt paths. This is just another building on the big map Let me show you the map itself. So in case you guys haven't seen my work before, this is Nulb right here. There you go. There's Nulb. So my map is kind of close to this map. I try to make it as close as possible. These building objects are canned from Tom Kartos. So they're not custom buildings. Dang it. So there you go. So that's the number one is the Waterside, and that's the stables. And there's the bridge, and there's the road, the high road. And then there's the low road. There. There's the cottage, and then there's a Wainwright there. The Emerald Run flows north to the Velfordiver River. It also seeps, the Fensatora seeps into this lagoon area, and that's the pier for Nulb. And I went over this map many times in previous videos, so you should watch those too, in case you missed those. If you look at the Waterside, that's that building number 12 across the street, or number 11, that is. It's a boat right. There's a boat right over there, and 12 is something the Dungeon Master can key. And then there's a couple of ruins right here. So let's go ahead and look at the other map now. Let's see, YouTube. Oh. I flipped it around by mistake. There. The main focus is, the hostel and the trails and the outside parts and the barn, because that's what, when there's a fight, it's going to be within this area. I just kind of put these graphics over here as a close approximation of what those other buildings are located at and what they look like. It's pretty close, but I didn't have the exact objects that I used in my other map. Okay, so you go through the front doors, 10 feet wide. Each square is 5 feet. So there's a lantern here, a lantern there. And then you hit the bar, and that's where Watt, the bartender, would be. And there's a lot of seats here. Last week, I counted all the seats. I think there's like 43 seats. So yeah, her and the second floor is on the same map. See, it's over here. That's the second floor. That way, in your VTT, you don't have to switch maps while you're playing. You can just move the tokens over to this part of the map. This is the kitchen with 3 doors. So that's where the food prep is. These stairs go up to the upper floor. There's some blood stains on the floor. Door here, door there, another door here. So it's 2 doors going to the back area. These are windows. That's the fireplace, the hearth. So there's enough room in here for a lot of bandits. And that goes upstairs. This is the side door with another lantern outside. Wood for the fireplace. This is watch room. He's got the small little room. Last time I talked about this, I didn't have this done yet. So that's watch room. As a privy, there's no separate bathroom in this establishment. So everybody gets a bucket. This is a storage room that's also a clandestine meeting room when they have meetings. And this is Dick Wrench's room. And this is a door with stairs going down to the basement. And I didn't make a map of the basement. Probably just a simple 1-room basement with low ceiling. The basement ceiling could be these wood planks right here. So that's something to think about. Yeah, that's most likely that's what it would be, the wood planks. And the walls, of course, would be stone. Now the second floor. I decided to make the second floor not as big as the bottom floor when it came to the footprint. So this is a rooftop right here. And that's the chimney for the main hearth on the first floor. And this is stairs going up. And you could put a guard here if you wanted to, guard station. So these rooms are for rent. This is the common room, like 4 copper a night. There's 20 cots here total, 10 bunk beds each with a hearth, table, stools, and things like that. This is more of a private room suite. It's a bigger room with 4 beds, separate beds. And then this room right here is another one of those. This room is the servant's room where the servant girls sleep. There's 3 cots on the floor. And then this room right here is the big private suite. There's 4 beds, and it's got everything. It's got 3 windows. You have to climb up on these rooftop to get to the windows. That'll make some noise. But one of the biggest bandit gangs, the Brigand Gang in Nulb, they're from divers. They're very dangerous. And this is their base of operations. And they always keep 2-minute guard out here, and they barricaded the corridor off. So you can't even get to their door. You can't get to the door at all to get into their room without getting past the barricade. And there's always 2 guards there on guard watching the hallway there. So that's interesting. So there's a lot going on with this bandit group, this brigand group. They're the ones that are raiding up and down the merchant roads to Divers and to the Wild Coast, bringing in slaves and loot and stuff. They're murderers. They're different from mercenaries. There's a mercenary gang staying here too. I think it's in this room right here. It's a regular mercenary gang for hire. All they care about is coin. I have a whole article about this. Everything from dialogue to how to role play them, all that's done. But these guys are murderer. They're actually secret worshippers of Orcus. There's an Orcus cleric in this group. One of the leaders is a cleric of Orcus. Everything in this project it's just like anything the dungeon master would use. Just because all these locations are key doesn't mean you have to use all of them. But if your players happen to, for some reason, get interested in something like number 3, there's a herb shop. I want to go there. And you had no intentions of even using that in your campaign, but they decided to go there for some reason. It's ready for you to use. So you don't have to worry about it. I left a lot of these buildings unkeyed for you to use if you want to add something to the town. And there's a lot going on here, even a graveyard. And there's a lot of plot hooks. Every location I keyed has plot hooks to it. But back to the map. So there's more to the map. So that's the second floor. So you got to remember the second floor is right above the first floor, obviously. Okay, so this is the barn. So this, at the main intersection coming into Nulb, so Hearn said that's what teleporters are for. At the main intersection here, you're expected to bring your horses. If you're going to stay at the hostel, the inn, you're expected to bring your horses to the stables. Now, it's connected to the stables as a cottage. Let's look at the stables first. There's a trough of water, a hitching post, 2 lanterns at night. There's a lot of, in Nulb, I try to make it dingy as possible. You gotta remember, after the Battle of Vermity Meadows, the forces of good swept back the Temple of Elemental Evil army. They have a name for it. I know the good forces were called the Righteous Host, and the temple is called something else. Well, anyway, they're driven back through Nulb, pitch fighting in the streets here, pushed back through Nulb. Nulb was half destroyed during this push. And finally, they pushed them back to the temple and laid it to waste into ruins, and then they sealed it with great magical wards, the seal and Zugboin. This is 7 years later, and some of the buildings are still in ruins. And I try to depict that as much as I can. This is fog from the marsh. This graphics of fog from the river and the marsh. I try to make it as dingy and dark as possible using Wonder Draft. No, this is Dungeon Draft. And nighttime looks really cool. I'll show you the nighttime map in a minute. All right, so you pull up here with your players. I didn't write dialogue of them coming out and greeting them. I should do that. I don't think I did. I have to look. I have to look at the article. I write 3 to 4 or 5 articles a day. So it's just a blur, 7 days a week. And I'm on my Discord channel working on this all day long. And I every time I write an article, I post it in a Discord channel so you guys can review and critique it. And you guys did that today. I had to change something. So Hearn again said, makes sense that Nulb would have a large graveyard. Actually, half that graveyard is from the remnants of the battle after Battle of Vermity Meadows when they swept through Nulb. That's a great location. There's a necromancer that takes care of that graveyard. And his specialty is talking to the dead and getting their secrets, because the Temple of Elemental Evil overshadows him completely. You can't be, not with the Temple of Elemental Evil Second Rising. The Mouth of Boo is the supreme commander, and all his followers, a 13th level Senshock wizard. That necromancer will be taken out if you try to misbehave. But he is delving in secrets. And there's all that dead in the cemetery from the Battle of Vermity Meadows. That buildup of the First Rising. They have a lot of secrets, including Yellow Skull, the Orb of Golden Death. Something to think about. So anyway, you bring your horses in, or wagons, and there's all the stables. Now, there's a hayloft above, but I didn't really depict it except for that ladder right there. I added that ladder yesterday, I think. There's a hayloft up there. I had a lot of tools, added tools. So this room right here, it's lit up because there's a lantern right there. Lantern right there. These are lanterns. I light them up with this program. So this is a tool room. It's through that stable door. And that's a regular door that goes into the cottage. And this is a work room where they fix harnesses and saddles and a little bit of light leather working. That's their workshop. And there's 4 rooms here. And this is the living area. You know, it's the kitchen and the dining room all in one. The house is just one room. It's kind of like that. This is a double bed, so that's where the owner and the wife lives. This daughter and the son and probably one of the stable hands. Even though the stable hand, now that I think about it, would be sleeping up in the loft in the hay. That's where the stable hand would be sleeping. I grew up reading a lot of fantasy books. And though a lot of the younger Dungeon Masters out there, they didn't grow up reading traditional fantasy books. They might have read Lord of the Rings, but I used to read a book a week. There's a lot of common tropes that somebody like me is used to, like the stable hand sleeping up in the hayloft. It's just common sense. But I can see how things like that could be over somebody's, they wouldn't even consider it. They wouldn't think of it. Because they're so used to, they grew up on video games. Video games are a lot different than fantasy worlds and a fantasy book. So that's something to think about. I try to be patient with those younger players that don't have the same background and try to explain things. And my articles are written that way too, to describe the reasoning behind everything. So that's the stables. And it's fully keyed with a lot of description. The NPCs have relationships and backgrounds and dialogue and activities and plot hooks and all sorts of stuff going on. This project is to help the Dungeon Master bring the campaign to life, to turn this into a sandbox campaign, not just run the module from the pages. These runes would be useful on the battle map. You know, who knows how the battle is going to take shape. They might be fighting out here, ducking away, running away into these ruins, doing all sorts of stuff. So anyway, I think this map's really cool. Let's go ahead and look at the nighttime one. It's nighttime. I can't see anything. Where's the river at? It's there. You can see it. I probably should add one. Anyway, see all the lanterns? Isn't that cool? I don't have a lit lantern in this room. I should add a lantern to this room. This lantern lights up the stairs going up. You see that? Dungeon Drafts is pretty cool. It's got interactive lighting, just like a VTT. Of course, when you add this to your VTT, you will be doing all the walls, the line of sight, and the lighting, obviously. I don't know if you'd use this map or not, to tell you the truth. I need feedback on that from you guys. You know, what version of the map, of the nighttime map, you would need for your VTT, so that way I can get it right. I should light all the rooms and let you guys darken them. Maybe. And keep the outside dark. That's probably what it should do, huh? You guys need to tell me this stuff, or I'm just going to do it. You guys are making me do all the work, all the thinking. So there's some light in this common room right here. There's 2 candles on the fireplace. So I think the nighttime map looks really cool. But this map is good the way it is now. It's good to be printed up this way. But as a VTT map and a VTT program, and you guys are controlling the lighting, yeah, I think I should light all the rooms up and then let you guys darken them. I don't know if any VTTs have that effect. See, I know when I was running Fantasy Grounds and Owlbear Rodeo, if there's no light in a room, it's pitch black. You can't see. It's fog of war. But I don't know if they have low light effects on the VTT app like this. You can still kind of see, but not really. So you know there's no light in there. So I don't know. There's something to think about. You guys should tell me what you think too. But yeah, this is a cool map. All right, so that's basically what I worked on all week. This is the map I made for the Waterside Hostel in the village of Nulb for your Temple of Elemental Evil campaign. This project is for you to bring the campaign to life from the Temple of Elemental Evil module by Gary Gygax. to make it more into a sandbox version. And in Nulb, there's going to be a lot of things going down. You got the Boatman's Tavern. You have this Waterside Hostel. You have the old Mayor's Mansion that's got a VTT map too. There's a lot of locations in Nulb where a lot of battles could possibly happen.
Did you enjoy video? Consider tossing support on my Patreon. It's best way to support orcs. If you would like to see more content, subscribe and post comments below. It better not be bad.
And that's why I've been making these little smaller maps for these locations. I hope you guys like this. You add value to your game too. I really hope that you guys were able to use this. And if you want anything more created for any of these locations, let me know. I'd like to hear it. Thank you so much.